Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel, Kylie's Bookquirks. I'm going to be running you through my April wrap-up. First off, there are important links below for Black Lives Matter, Indigenous Peoples, and Stop Asian Hate, if you could please check those out. Also, I am now on Readerly, which is a reader-friendly alternative to Goodreads. My @ is down below, and then also if you want to join, I have a couple of codes. So yeah. So first off, I'm just gonna run through the different books that I read this month. I read 14 books. So yeah. So first off, I read Tide of Terror by Justin Somper, which is the sequel to the I think it's a sequel to the Vampire series. It's a middle school sort of series that I read as a kid, and I got the first 3 books, and so I'm rereading that now. Next, I read the Gilded ones, which is a 2021 release. It is about this young girl who lives in, I'd say like a strict religious community, and so she has this sort of coming of age ceremony, and she fails it and turns out to be a demon, so she's enlisted for the king's army to fight against other demon threats. It's really good. I really liked the writing and it was really enjoyable. There is going to be a sequel that will come out eventually. I'm not completely sure when, but I'm really excited, looking forward to that. Next, I also read Howl's Moving Castle, which is the book that the Studio Ghibli movie is based off of. I would say the only difference is that the plot changes up a little bit, and then there's a lot more characterization of the characters. If you don't know what Howl's Moving Castle is, it's about this wizard Howl and this young girl Sophie who is cursed to look like an old woman, and so she ends up living in Howl's Moving Castle and cleaning for him, and so there's she has to break the curse, and then Howl also has a curse on him, so it was really enjoyable. Next, I also read White Fragility, Why It's So Hard for White People to Talk About Racism. This book was recommended to me. I did enjoy it, and I think that it made a lot of good points, except it was written by a white author, and I think that it would have been more beneficial if it was co-written with an author of color, because this is an issue that affects the day-to-day lives of people of color, and I think that this was an instance where, you know, it would have been good to have own voices speaking on some things. So next, I also read Girls of Storm and Shadow, which is the sequel to Girls of Paper and Fire. Overall, I liked it. I thought it was a pretty good sequel. There is going to be a 3rd book that I believe has not been released yet, but Girls of Paper and Fire is about these 2 girls who end up in the palace for the king, and there's 3 different cases. There's the demon case, and then there's I think the moon case, which is half demon, half human, and then the paper case, which is completely human. So there's just a lot of internal conflict with the government and the king, and so they try to overthrow him. Next, I read Darken by Kiersten White, which I have a review for coming out, I believe, on the 8th. And then I read the sequel, Now I Rise. It is a historical fiction book based off of the life experience of Vlad Tepes. I believe I'm saying that right. Except it's him reimagined as a young woman named Lada. And then there's also a lot of influence with the Ottoman Empire, and you see Mehmed the Conqueror and Lada's brother Radu. So I read Darken and Now I Rise. And then I read The Dark Tide, which was enjoyable, but it was definitely much more of, I would say, a middle grade, like a younger read, I guess. The writing, I think, it was good. I think it was just simpler than I was used to. I guess when I think of YA books, I think of very complex writing and plot, but this one was more of just like very straightforward story, and it was very enjoyable, and I enjoyed reading it. Next, I read A Deal with the Elf King, which is enemies to lovers, but once again, it's one of those books where it's marketed more on, you know, we're working together grudgingly and then we fall in love sort of thing. It was enjoyable. I liked sort of the aspects of seeing, the Fae. So, I mean, it was pretty good. Next, I read A Touch of Darkness, which is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars, and it really was there for the romance, and there was very little plot, and I didn't really enjoy it. I'm tempted to go finish the sequel, though. I mean, we'll see what that takes me, but overall, I didn't enjoy it. The writing wasn't very good. It wasn't memorable, so. Next, I finally finished The Starless Sea. I have been reading that since August, and so I got, I think, about 75% through it. And then I had to turn it back into the library, and there's a huge, long wait list on it. And I finally finished it. Overall, I really love Erin Morgenstern's writing. I think her writing is very complex and enjoyable. So I had fun with it, but the plot was one of those plots where I feel like I'd have to reread it to fully grasp it and understand what was going on. Next, I read Six of Crows. I am on a reread after seeing the TV show, which, if you haven't checked out my previous video, I reviewed the TV series compared to the book series. So I finished Six of Crows. I'm in the middle of Crooked Kingdom right now. I had wanted to finish that in April, but that didn't happen, so. Next, I read In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. I had to read it for school. Overall, it was fine, but I didn't enjoy it, so. And the last book I read was Bright We Burn, which is the final installment in the Conqueror saga by Kiersten White. Overall, I thought it was a very good series. It is a little bit enemies to lovers, but there wasn't a whole much of that, just because Kiersten White followed mainly the historical progression of events. But yeah, those are the 14 books I read in April. I am hoping to read 15 in May. We'll see how that goes. And then also, if you haven't checked out some of my other videos, go ahead, like, subscribe, and I will see you on the next video.